So we know the Ravens are coming up. This is kind of scary. The Ravens have now gone 5 straight weeks of 400 yards or more in total offense and 7 straight weeks of scoring 20 points or more. Browns have yet to do either in a game this season. The Ravens offense, and they've played, the schedule's been pretty good. They're playing really at a high level offensively.
Yeah, I think they're the hottest team in football right now, especially offense. Looking at their offense, number one in points per game, 31.1, number one in rushing yards, number one in yards per carry, number one in passing yards per attempt. So, I mean, you pick an offensive category and they're just near the top. And I think obviously Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, that combination has been absolutely sensational. I mean, you really don't have to look much further than that to see why this team really has just blown up the way they have. I mean, even looking at throughout the season, they haven't scored fewer than 20 points in a game this entire season. The lowest they had was 20 in week 1 in Kansas City, but then you look 35 against the Bills, 41 against the Bengals, 30 against the Commanders, 41 on Monday night in Tampa Bay. So yeah, they're going to come into this game, with a little bit less rest, and the Browns are coming off, playing Sunday at home against the Bengals. To get to stay home. The Ravens have to go back on the road. That might be one of the only advantages. And yeah, the Ravens defense is not nearly as good this season, 26 in scoring, but you don't really need a great defense if you're constantly putting up 30 plus points in a game.
All right. You also wrote an article, 3 things to know about the Ravens. We've talked a little bit about them. We can go a little bit deeper. Number 1, Derrick Henry makes their run game even tougher. Number 2, Ravens have a problem defending the pass. And number 3, despite a tough schedule, Ravens are as hot as anybody. And there are a number of people that think the Ravens have a legitimate shot at knocking off the Chiefs and getting to the Super Bowl.
And they certainly do. I think if there's any question about Baltimore right now, it's that defense. And we talked a lot about Derrick Henry, so we'll skip right to number 2, talking about the defense. I think we all kind of knew before the season that with Mike McDonald leaving to take the head coaching job with the Seahawks, that this defense was going to take a step back. They lost a lot of key pieces, so it was inevitable they're going to kind of take a step back, and they really have. 26th in scoring defense, 23rd in total yardage defense, 32nd in passing defense. And yeah, they've been thrown on a lot because the offense is scoring a lot of points. They've given up 20, they're 29th in most pass attempts allowed, but also 28th in net yards per pass attempt. So that means not only are teams throwing on them a lot, they're still gaining a lot of yards. So there's yards to be had, I think, for Jameis Winston. And th that's why I said specifically about their pass defense. Their run defense is really good. They're number one in yards allowed, number one in yards per attempt allowed. They've allowed the third fewest rushing attempts. Teams are just not running the ball on them. And when you're allowing just 3.3 yards a run total, throughout 7 games, it's pretty obvious why you aren't going to try to run the football. And then, going back to how hot they are again, I said at 0-2, I had concerns about them after they lost to Raiders. They really need to turn things around, and my have they. I mean, you look at who they played last season. Of the 5 teams they've beaten, 3 were division champions. The Cowboys, the Bills, and the Buccaneers all won their divisions last season, and the Ravens have won 3 of these 5 games on the road. So this is arguably the highest team in football right now. I know the Kansas City Chiefs are undefeated. I know the Detroit Lions are getting hot right now, but when you consider who the Ravens have played and how they're just dominating offensively, you can't find a team that's hotter right now in football than the Baltimore Ravens are.